my siblings in Keranos. This glorious day is Halloween. So let us summon forth our vampires and goblins and zombies. And let's play Mono Black Splinter Twin. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And today Plum Wizard asked me to do something special for Halloween. And last year we messed around with a whole bunch of vampire decks and had some Lash Writhe fun. That was a hoot. But today we are going to play a deck list inspired by Crucible of Words. Unstoppable Slasher is a sweet Magic the Gathering card. I love this one a lot. I'm going to be putting it into EDH decks. Huge fan of this. When it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. And if it dies, if it had no counters on it, you can return to the battlefield tapped with 2 stun counters on it. Well, what if your opponent loses life and they lose twice that much life instead? So a theoretical curve of Unstoppable Slasher into Bloodletter of Aclazotz is a 1-2 punch that is just going to kill our opponent dead. And this is our Splinter Twin today, our A plus B combo that just goes and kills our opponent. Now, I did not watch Crucible of Words video. I watched the conclusion though, and in the conclusion they said that this was probably like too cute and was maybe the worst part of the deck. So we're going to ignore that, and we're going to keep it in because it sounds really fun and spooky for Halloween. Vampire Demon, what's not to like? But to make it so that this is good, I have gone much more down the aggro route than their original deck list was. And I'm going to throw Dauthi Voidwalkers and Stalactite Stalkers into this deck list so that I have a bunch of different evasive menace creatures in my deck that can make it so that if I just naturally play this on about turn 4, that this is still a meaningful card if I'm not comboing with Unstoppable Slasher. And by having more early game creatures that come down before this, I'm giving myself the highest chance of actually connecting with this because the removal spells will get pointed here instead. Now, there is some downside of doing this. Dauthi Voidwalker doesn't line up perfectly with Ancient Tomb unless something like an Urborg gets involved. I maybe don't want to play too many Urborgs because Wasteland is a real card that I can otherwise ignore. And I've added the One Ring into the deck list for a persistent source of card advantage. And the One Ring would probably be better with something like Sheoldred in this slot. But let's be real here. We want to do the spooky thing on Halloween. And damn it, we're going to try to do the spooky thing. The sideboard is pretty pointed. I took Bowmasters out of the deck in game 1. I didn't really think it was a good aggro card, and I was trying to build an aggro deck here that has the One Ring for card advantage later on. So otherwise, we mostly have anti-combo stuff in the sideboard, although Vexing Bauble can also have a double purpose of making our stuff easier to resolve. The only thing I'm waffling about is whether or not I play a second Urborg. The Urborg only matters when it lines up with Ancient Tomb, and it does matter on Dauthi Voidwalkers. But I think I'm just going to stick with one and have a whole bunch of basics. I maybe want a 5th fetch land, though, looking at this, or Stalker, and to a lesser extent, Barrowgoyf. Let's play one more of these bad boys. Oop! Alright, perfect. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some spooky-themed matches here, see how our zombie assassins and vampire demons do. Folks, if you need any cards for your own spooky holiday, check out TOAmagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will let them know that I sent you, and you always get free shipping on any order that you place online. And their shipping is pretty fast, too. Not just free, it's also fast. With that being said, happy Halloween, folks, and let's battle. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Turn 1, baby. I believe. Now, Freakle, you wouldn't stop a card called Unstoppable Slasher, would you? You wouldn't do that, right? Freakle. That might not. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Video is a success already. And that Ponder shuffles too. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, holy shit, folks. I'm not going to say that I've built the greatest deck of all time, but you can say that. This is great. Now, we'll see if I still just lose to some giant reanimated creature. Or a whack Doomsday Pile or something like that. Now both of these grow because of the fetch land. Delicious. Second Underground Sea. That's not Entomb. Ooh, nice. Combat. Send in for 6 damage. Oh, I don't actually think that matters. My opponent still gets hit for 4 here. Going to 5. Then I'll just fetch a new swamp. At this point, I don't super care if this gets dazed or whatever, because I still will just have 2/3/3 creatures in play. Yeah, they did not daze, presumably because they need their land drop to stay competitive. And these are menace creatures, so they're getting in there through most things that my opponent can do. And this is the power of the Unstoppable Slasher. So, what we don't know as of right now is whether or not my opponent is on a reanimation plan. I don't think we've seen enough to 100% confirm whether or not they are a tempo or a reanimator deck. I have reasonable tools in my sideboard that I can use to adjust my deck. And as much as it pains me to do so, I probably have to cut these. Until I have a feel for what my opponent is doing, it's probably correct to board in the Leyline of the Voids. As a quick note, though, I'm already in the league, so I can't change it. This deck maybe should just be playing Fairy Macabres. They can turn sideways in a way that Leyline can't. And then it's just a question of, like, do I want Baubles, Bowmaster's Edicts beyond that? Do I need the One Ring here? I maybe don't need the One Ring here. I just cut my expensive stuff, so Daze is worse against me. I could do this. I could not play these and instead play these 4 just as easily, I think. Split? Split feels weird. I think on the draw, I think on the draw I'm going to play all 4 of the Baubles. It just opens up my turn 1 to be a little bit stronger. Anyway, where's my One Rings? One Ring? You would be great to draw with this hand. I think I'm still keeping it. Like, I have a Leyline of the Void to hedge against reanimation stuff and Nethergoyfs. Makes that Surveil land worse too. Dunking a Polluted Delta. That's too much mana. I could take 2 to play Vexing Bauble around Daze. I think that is worth it. And we're in play. So now, we're just going to draw Unstoppable Slasher off the top. We're going to Fatal Push the Psychic Frog that my opponent plays, and we're going to have nothing to worry about. Get him. That is not what I'm looking for. Push the frog. And pass. And we're not really in any sort of danger right now, and this is fine. I don't care about that. Yeah, that's fine. We have Fatal Push for that as well. I think I do Fatal Push it here. Children's Edict can answer some other stuff that Fatal Push doesn't, so I think I'm going to hold that despite this being less mana efficient. Next land drop and pass the turn. Rough. This is the cost of playing a deck that does not have cantrips. This sort of thing does happen sometimes. Is there a second Undercity Sewers? There is. Junking a Troll, so that pushes us in the direction of our opponent indeed having Reanimator aspects to their deck. I do not believe that I am cycling Vexing Bauble here. Boggart Trawler. By just playing that as a 3-power attacker, Hardcast Daze answers that as of right now. I'm not like the most interested in that. On a 4th mana where I play around Daze, I think I play that. I think I'm going to hold it in hand for a turn. I'm not taking any points of damage right now, so I think I can wait a turn to make any relevant decision. Not a fetch land, notably. The opponent may be Brainstorm locked. They could Troll Cycle their way out of this. Alright. I will play a small creature, and I think I'm still holding that. Sort of a weird game in that regard. Push is fine. Metamorphosis Fanatic, which, because of Miracle, it can just be played out as a 4/4 lifelinker, and that is, like, reasonable. Maybe it doesn't feel fantastic, but it is at least reasonable. I had like 5 mana in this turn cycle. I want to keep playing around Hardcast Daze. I use 2 Dark Rituals this turn, or I just play this as a land. So let's do this. If my opponent acts on this, they do not. Then let's go ahead and cast this. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. using this. It's gone. I think this is a land. I'm going to pay the life here to play this around days. That is an Entomb that is just taking a bad card out of my opponent's deck here. Taking a land out of deck. Cool. No immediate fatal push. He sure do be slashing, though. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. Alright, my opening hand against a Yorion deck of some kind has probably too much mana. I think I just mulligan this one. I think I can do better. Chrome Mox, Imprint Voidwalker, turn 1 Voidwalker, land drop, turn 2 Slasher, getting rid of Undercity Sewers. That sounds great to me. Mother of Runes. That's annoying versus Unstoppable Slasher. And that probably means that I imprint Unstoppable Slasher rather than the Dauthi Voidwalker that I was originally intending on doing. So let's see how my shadow creatures end up doing. Ooh, that's not what I want to see. So now I'm going to need some more aggro elements off the top. Hey, I don't mind that at all. That is effectively turning Dauthi Voidwalker into a 6-power attacker. Yeah, so just like tap out for something. Okay. That's a good card. And that will have some relevant text versus my deck, as I do have Barrowgoyfs. I can snag a Surveil land here. It is a little weird with Emperor of Bones, though. Yeah, I do not want to draw that. Please don't have another 1-mana removal spell. My poor heart can't take it. I want this Vampire Demon thing to fucking work. Here we go. 6-power Dauthi Voidwalker in action. Yeah. That's delicious. No end of turn Surveil off that land. Sometimes these D&T decks recently have been 3 colors, playing things like Magus of the Moon. Potentially just black-white. Stoneforge, sure. Pre-war Formalware is now on Magic Online, although I don't imagine that that's the get here. If my opponent has something that can gain them life, they might get that. Otherwise, they can just get Cauldra in an attempt to clock me back and race me. But I think they're going to need a piece of interaction, right? Because I am attacking for 5, which is actually 10. My opponent is going to 3, and then both of my creatures need to be answered the following turn. Okay, they do have a Jitte. So that is useful. That can gain my opponent a real amount of life. So this can be a 4/4, so I don't actually want to block that. And my opponent will play out the Jitte. Lol. Deals combat damage. So swing in for 10, bringing my opponent to 3. I think I'm going to take 2 extra points of damage here to have black mana available after casting this card. Just in case I draw a playable thing. It does not matter this game, but I think my life total is largely irrelevant. So now my opponent's Jitte can't gain them life. I have 2 different lethal attackers with evasion. So my opponent would need something like removal spell, flying blocker, double removal spell, and whatever they do also has to beat the One Ring. Yeah, I didn't think so. So I have 4 more removal spells that I can think about playing. The Slasher's probably not that good in this matchup. Like, there are Moms, potentially Giver of Runes, over there for protection. My opponent has a decent number of blockers. I think my things that have evasion are better. The One Ring can get awkward if my opponent is playing Bowmasters or Spirit of the Labyrinth, but that's less common these days. Yeah, I'm not really sure how I want to board here. My gut is telling me that I board out something over here for removal spells. I think we're going to go Slasher out on the draw. And if we go to a game 3, I think Slasher is then more reasonable. Slasher is just not great versus white removal in particular. That dodges its little comeback stun counter clause. This is just not enough mana to be reasonable with multiple One Rings and the Bloodletter in hand. Whereas this hand is very actively good, and I just decide whether or not I am keeping Bowmasters. I think I don't. I think I just keep threat, 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 punch my opponent in the face until they die. Because keeping Bowmaster does not stop like a turn 1 Mother of Runes from doing its thing. Oh shit. Yeah, that's good. So fetch, Swamp, Dark Ritual, Dauthi, Stalker. I put 5 power in play on turn 1, and we'll continue to scale up from there. Hopefully not giving my opponent's Vile time to do Vile stuff. It's a funny joke because Vile is V-I-A-L, but Vile, V-I-L-E, means bad, and never mind. Stoneforge. Sure. Is that the Edict one? Attach it up to one target creature control. Destroy up to one other target creature. Got it. So this is 3. I could Dark Ritual, sacrifice this, kill Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think I'm doing that. I think I just want to play another creature. Like, for 2 mana, this destroys 1 creature and makes this body bigger in a way that I don't actually really care about right now. So I have 9 power in play, soon to be 6 power in play. That is not literally unblockable, maybe effectively unblockable. I'd like to draw another relevant play here. That Thoughtseize is not popping off very hard. There's a fetch. We have a 2-turn clock post Phantom Blade still. Opponent's chilling. We've got a Stalker. No fun things in exile. Let's go to Punchies. Something can come in off of Vile and make for an awkward double block situation. But it's not like I am going to let Vile continue to tick up and give my opponent time. Sure. Nuking one of my Voidwalkers. That damage is going through. Then I play a new Stalker, and one of my creatures left play, so I trigger both of these at end of turn, and hopefully I am remaining aggressive enough to just kill my opponent. It's possible that my opponent can pick up a Jitte here and things get a little dicey. Ooh, it's Kaldra instead. File does go up. So my Menace attackers start becoming less good. That's not really what I'm hoping for. So, are my Menace creatures both attacking this turn? It is probably correct to try. So let's send in here. Something like Swords to Plowshares here, plus put in Kaldra block, starts to become very, very bad for me. And I don't think I want to give my opponent time at all here. This is not unexpected. Now this allows for a double block on one of these creatures, which is fine. I can now get in for, in theory, 5. We will try to then kill a Stoneforge Mystic. It is a Swords. Yeah, so this is what we did not want to see. It was Swords plus a block. So my opponent goes to 3. A Stalactite Stalker connection is lethal, but my opponent has 2 bodies here, and potentially more things, like, say, a Recruiter of the Guard. Lauren. Sure. Lauren is not a particularly potent card in this matchup. I have Chrome Mox, and that's my only target for it, as it can't actually destroy the One Ring. Alright. Opponent is at 2. Oh, fuck. That's bad. Sure. I don't think I like putting that on the X1 creature there. If you're holding back anything, you hold back 2 creatures to block for menace purposes. This is in theory Bowmasterable if there's no counters on Jitte. So when Lauren attacks next turn, I will Fatal Push it. But I want it to be in attack step, I think. It's punished by Karakas as a draw, but I don't want my opponent accumulating more Jitte counters. I am trying to very awkwardly limp over the finish line here. Yes. Alright, so both of those are coming in. We're going to Fatal Push Lauren, so that my opponent does not get more Jitte counters this turn. I'll take 5 in combat. My opponent is effectively at 6 life. They can put Yori into hand here. They can re-equip Jitte here. They have a few options. It is a Jitte equip. And a Phantom Blade equip. Sure. I am 1 mana away from lethal here. Yeah, my opponent's Wasteland saved them. Because otherwise I play this and deal double damage. Uh, that's frustrating. Anyway, basic lands are good. We've said that before on this channel once or twice. So there's Yorion. I'm going to get clocked for a lot here. I am just eating that damage. And then Yorion gets to flicker Stoneforge for another piece of equipment. Maybe flicker the Vial too. Kind of depends on whether or not my opponent wants to leave Vial on 5 for Caracas shenanigans or wants to reset it to make it more usable for other things. They do not want to flicker Vial. Oh, they got to flicker Phantom Blade. Right. Ooh. I can activate this and kill the Stoneforge on the way out, but I think this is the point where I don't win anymore. I have the One Ring. You have the One Ring. I don't have 4 mana though. Pre-war Formal Wear. Sure. Wall. This is lethal. Dead. Yeah, that Wasteland right there did it. Okay, do I want Unstoppable Slasher when I am on the play? Like, am I just trying to end the game before this becomes relevant when I am on the play? I think that's reasonable. This is not enough gas, I don't think. I would like multiple threats here. This is multiple threats. I'm keeping this and getting rid of a land. And it's just a question of which creature am I playing on turn 2. I think I play Slasher turn 2. We are going to, I think, ignore Surveil lands in the short term. My plan is let Unstoppable Slasher eat Swords to Plowshares or whatever initial removal spell my opponent has, and then keep 2 evasive Dauthi Voidwalkers to actually beat down my opponent and win the game with. And if this Ancient Tomb gets wastelanded, I don't actually care. And this allows me to keep Polluted Delta for as long as possible for the purposes of a drawn Stalactite Stalker. Alright. Are you stopping my Unstoppable Slasher? Maybe. Do not like Ancient Tomb as a draw here. Oh! Aww. Got excited for a second there. Pick up a Swamp. Then, despite the fact that we have 4 mana, I cannot double Dauthi Voidwalker this turn. Vial will tick up to 2. And this is probably the turning point for my opponent where things from here start to look better and better for them. Not getting that, yikes, initial Unstoppable Slasher trigger really matters. But I think most of the games that I win, I do so as an aggro deck. 16. Drop a second one and pass. And all sorts of terrible things can now happen. Belia could be worse, honestly. Vial to 3. I hate it. Oh, Flicker Wisp. I'm just gonna concede at that point. I'm not beating Felia, Flicker Wisp, Solitude nonsense. GG's. That single game 2 Wasteland was the deal breaker here for us. I am gonna need a little bit more mana with this hand, but I have turn 1 threat into turn 2 threat off my current resources, and then I have a lot of gas afterwards. And I didn't count it, but this deck should be roughly 50% mana, so most of the time we should be fine in making this decision. Stalker. And we'll scale up end of turn. Swords. Seems like Swords timing before it would give me more... Oh no, Lorien Revealed, sure. So some sort of blue-white X control deck from the look of things. Could be other things, I suppose, but Lorien Revealed plus 2 basic lands really is pointing strongly in that direction. So hopefully we exhaust our opponent's removal and then just play Slasher into Vampire Demon Bat from Hell. And it's awesome. So Arid Mesa probably tells us that our opponent is Jeskai, and that we should expect 4th Airlingas as a card out of my opponent's deck. More Prismatic Ending. No big deal. We've got threats for days. Dark Ritual doesn't change any math this turn. So pay 3 life, play a spooky zombie assassin boy on a buzzsaw. Art so good. Now, the one downside here is that if my opponent hypothetically were to set up something like an instant speed Terminus, and I play this card out, things can get a little wonky. There is a Brainstorm. Next land drop. Fairy is fine. This is inconvenient, but acceptable. Now I can get to 5 mana this turn for an Edict plus a threat. So Dark Writ, Slasher first. Cast this, please sacrifice a Planeswalker. We don't care that much about the Teferi right now, but we care about it a lot if it lives. Spell Pierce. So I'm punished for not doing it in the other order, I suppose. I mean, we are just threatening lethal next turn. So that is, I guess, a thing. That's fine as long as it doesn't reveal Swords to Plowshares. Fuck! Well, life got harder, and we would have hit the land, too. Daggers. Yeah. Fuck, opponent is doing a great job of answering everything. It's turn 5, I believe I have played at least one relevant card every turn, and my opponent has answered all of them. The Planeswalkers get to do Planeswalker things, and now Teferi is live to bounce one of my creatures. Yeah, there's 4th Aerlingas that we were talking about. New Narset. It's to dig for another Swords. Days Undoing. Days Undoing Narset is some shit. And I only get to play one of my cards before I potentially lose everything. It doesn't matter which one I do because my opponent Teferi bounces it and then Days Undoing draws 7. Yeah, that was very close. So, I'm gonna get rid of my Fatal Pushes. I'm gonna play a couple answers to Planeswalkers from the look of things. And then I probably want a couple of like Vexing Baubles or Thought Seizes to round things out. Probably just trim a little bit of top end here. And I probably don't realistically get that combo off most of the time. My opponent just has so much white removal that I think we just play the generically good Bowmasters instead. Swamp Dark Ritual Slasher on 1. I probably can't do that. I mean, I'm keeping this hand, but I don't think I can Dark Ritual this out. I think I need to play the 1 ring off of that. So I think that means Chrome Mox, going to imprint an Edict here. And I'm just going to jam Bowmasters immediately. I don't think I want to, like, very clearly hold up 2 mana, and it's very obvious what that is going to be, and then give my opponent the opportunity to do something like an end-of-turn Brainstorm. Not conceptually on board with that. See if we get in here. Seems like no. So now we need to pass the Force of Will check on the 1 ring. Take 1. Dark Writ. 1 ring. Ooh, fuck yeah. I'll draw immediately. Nice. Not the land drop I wanted, but we'll take it. Now my opponent's got some work to do in terms of catching up. There is Narset, so I might not get to draw with the 1 ring forever. I am losing a mana source rather than a creature. That's probably a reasonable to good play. Let's draw. Love that for me. That's my way to answer a Narset if it happens. Now we'll love tap for 1. Down to 16. Play Slasher. What a horrifying card for a control player. I guess it's worse for the combo decks that just don't have follow-up. Force Pitching Force. Then I can follow up with Stalker. And it'll scale up end of turn. So if my opponent forces Pitching Force, Triumph, we've got that covered. Anyway, if they force Pitching Force, my Sheoldred's Edict probably covers their next reasonable play. I'll take some damage. I'll draw some cards. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, Vexing Bauble. I need 3 mana to do what I want to do. Assuming no Spell Pierce. I don't think my life total is super relevant, so let's just do this. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Yeah. Junk that. Now I don't need to worry about Spell Pierce from here. I can do Stalker, second main, in case that matters for some reason. Opponent's at 12. I play another one of these. Cool. 4th land drop could mean Supreme Verdict. Temporary Lockdown. Rough. Yeah, that's real good here. This is where I'd like to find like a Barrowgoyf. Fuck. Nope. You don't answer enchantments, do you? Nah. A lot of words on that. That's not one of them. So I'm going to play this Stalker. I think I don't crack that. I think it's still very valuable next turn. But I'm definitely scared. Like my opponent could just Luxac into 4th Aerlingas as their last card. It is Triumph. That is fine. I will just Edict that. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Yup. I actually could have sacked Vexing Bauble end of turn there. None of those cards are threats. Not real ones, anyway. Let's sack that. Wow. Okay. That's not great. Yeah. Yeah. Exile your graveyard. Have end of turn Bowmaster. I can just discard an Ancient Tomb here. You take 1. Throw this. Discard you. Alright, that was just a land. If that's just a land, then I can just do this now. Ping you. Going to 1. Alright. I need a new copy of the One Ring. 2, 5, 6, 7, or an Orcish Bowmasters. Either one of those kills my opponent. There's a new One Ring. That'll do. So do that. Keep this one. We're not going to put a counter on it. I hope you don't mind that, but we're simply not going to do that. Send it. Opponent goes to 1. Land drop. Dark Ritual. Goyf. Hold up Edict, I guess. This is more than enough threats to be lethal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Triumph comes back. My opponent casts that. And I will Edict it away. That is their only card. We've just got lethal here. Ooh. Temporary Lockdown is gross. Actually, a bunch of my threats dodge it. Not all of them, but a bunch. I still think that card's going to be very good against me. I don't think I am making any further changes, though. This seems reasonable. I have 4 different threats in this hand. I am perfectly happy with this. I probably am starting on a Surveil land on turn 1, just binning almost anything to grow this. It's possible I just play this as a land, though. Yeah, let's just play this as a land. I think I'm likely to take 8 to 10 points of damage off my Ancient Tomb this game. Would I like to play Orcish Bowmasters on my opponent's turn? I think so. I think that taxes their mana in a pretty meaningful way. So we'll fire off Bowmaster. My opponent can Brainstorm or whatever in response. I think that's fine. The end result here is probably that instant sorcery land end up in graveyard, and these start to look like real threats. Ping you for 1. 19. So we're going in for the love tap. Send it. Now Terminus or Triumph of St. Catherine could, in theory, be on top of deck. I think I'm firing off Unstoppable Slasher here. It is the Death Toucher that comes back if my opponent wants to block that with a Triumph. So that was no fetch, so my opponent likes all of their cards. That's not great for me. That is great for me, though. And I think I just attack for 1 here. I don't think I grow this thing immediately. Let's fire off Slasher. I'm just going to keep the Goyfs for as long as possible. Those are my sources of card advantage. 5th land. So I have to respond to that if I want to play Bowmasters. So yeah, Ping face, throw token, and my opponent's got some options for how they respond from there. They plussed to Fairy. Or no, they just didn't activate it yet, sorry. Prismatic Ending, sure. Then you're going to bounce my Slasher, sure. That means I get to kill Teferi. Ooh, yeah. Combat. Send at Teferi. Teferi is dead. I think we're going double spell this turn, and the One Ring the following turn. These are relatively large creatures, so we're hoping for no Supreme Verdict here, obviously. If my opponent Supreme Verdicts, this does come back later, which is why I'm not, like, the most worried about playing out 2 creatures there, especially with this coming. Sure. Finding Ponder. Ponder can attempt to find swords. That was a shuffle. Are you a creature or planeswalker? No, you are damage to a player. Well, if our opponent has the removal spell, let's make them make some tough choices. That goes at Narset. That goes at your face. That goes at your face. Oh, everything's just happening. Nice. Now I'll take 2 to do this. Nice. Draw. Nice. Play that? Yeah, play that. I don't think play this one, though. So 2 of these 3 creatures need to be removed, or my opponent dies. All right. This deck pops off pretty damn hard with the One Ring. GG's. I am on the play. My hand's not really good. I just don't have enough mana here. This'll do. It's a keep. What I most like to draw later, probably you. There's a couple of ways to play this one, but I think I'm just force of will checking my opponent. And I think we do that by yeah. And we just jam the One Ring on turn 1. We succeed the Force of Will check, which is great. Fatal Push, not really what I'm looking for here. We're just looking for any one other mana source so that I can deploy a threat on turn 2. Ooh, that's not one that I have seen for a long time. Necro Dominance. So I currently have protection from everything, so my opponent does not do anything. I take 1, I draw some cards, I play Unstoppable Slasher, and hope that I'm not dead. Wait, why did this... Oh, it didn't return because of my Urborg. Very cute. Very cute. The opponent goes to 1, so one of us is going to die here. And it can go either way. We've probably seen on camera about 4 times now the Necrodominance deck just losing to itself after drawing 19. Not that I expect that as the normal outcome or anything, but it is very much not a guaranteed win for them after drawing that many cards. Manamorphose. Filtering mana. We need to see the Flash Enabler Born Upon a Wind. So that allows my opponent to start playing out things like artifacts and sorceries here. Okay, it's been a hot minute. I've seen this card in Commander. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during your turn, it deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells cast before that spell this turn. Okay, cool. So that probably is going to Pact of Negation, your own spell for just Sentinel Tower triggers. That's cute, and you hold priority there so that, yeah, you can stack up more and more Sentinel Tower activations. Cute. But wait, there's more. I think I'm dead when this stack clears. Yes, I am. Okay, well that was cool. So, Vexing Bauble. Probably pretty good. Thoughtseize, probably pretty good. 4-drop creature. Probably unplayable. Fatal Push, Sheoldred's Edict, probably unplayable. That means that we fill with some Bowmasters, and then I just play one other random card. Doesn't super matter what it is. Okay, I mean, our hand has Vexing Bauble, so we'll keep it. So I can have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana on turn 1. One of that is for Vexing Bauble. Is anything going to my graveyard? Not really. Okay. That answers that question. So Dark Rit, Vexing Bauble, Dauthi Voidwalker, and Stalker. I have 4 power in play while shutting off artifact mana as well as pacts. And we'll just kind of see how that does. Sure. Okay. Can you draw 19 through that? Or do you have to draw some fair number that answers Vexing Bauble? Okay, you can apparently draw 19 through that. Do your thing. A lot of Spirit Guides. Manamorphose. Bring up white mana. What is the white for? You do any, like, approach the second sun style nonsense? Are you capable of doing that? Feels like no. It's for Enlightened Tutor. That lets you cast artifacts at instant speed? You may cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Okay. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana greater than its power, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Sure. My opponent can draw that card. But where does that get us? Is that just letting my opponent... Oh, I see. So that could let my opponent play their tower? So they would need like 4 mana, 7 mana to play Thopter into tower and then vomit artifacts? Veil of Summer. Oh, okay. So now we're live through Vexing Bauble. And now artifacts have flash. And we'll see where this goes. My opponent's going to play out a bunch of artifacts. I'm going to skip forward. Oh, not immediately. Oh, this is probably just a Lotus Petal in disguise, right? Yeah. And my opponent just kind of fizzled out there. They cast a Manamorphose and then conceded afterwards. I don't really have any possibility of adjusting my sideboarding here. Like, unless I want to try to leave the dream of Slasher into this as like a turn 1 into turn 2 play. But I think I just lose the game on the draw the vast majority of the time. I don't have like the mind break traps and things of that nature that can really push me forward. It has a Vexing Bauble. It's going to be a keep. I have 4 mana on turn 1. I have no instants or sorceries or any... And no, this would have 1 power if I cast Dark Ritual. That is, I guess, better than this, given circumstances. But my opponent began the game with a 7-card hand, so we should expect that they are playing their thing on turn 1. And we just kind of walk away from the computer and see if we die. A 19 life. Okay, just converting into Spirit Guide first in the deck marginally. Down to 1. 4 mana. Manamorphose. This can get blue mana for Born Upon a Wind. Dark Red. Valrid. This, I guess, can get that Battlethopter thing again. No, it's going for Sentinel Tower, so it's going for the win condition. Manamorphose draws it. There's Born Upon a Wind. Alright, so my opponent can now play Sentinel Tower, vomit a handful of cards, and I should, in theory, die. Here we go. So, Dark Red. They just need to play any 2 spells, and I die. There's 1. There's 2. Okay. We lose the game for passing the Force of Will check test. Okay, we have a regular old aggro hand here. We are just going to play a Stalker on turn 1, grow it to a 2/2, and then be attacking for 4 points on turn 2, and a lot after that. And Boggart Trawler becomes our, like, nuke your graveyard if you are a blue-black deck option. Chromebox is not super interesting here. I could junk Boggart Trawler to play around Daze specifically. I don't think I am going to do that because Boggart Trawler might be a real card in this matchup that I actually need. Ooh, shit, we are in play, folks. So this is attacking for 4 now. Opponent's at 16. Not scaling this up this turn. Didn't have something like a fetch land here. I will block your Tamiyo out of spite. Ah, that's a little annoying. The Tamiyo Plus is, like, certainly not bad versus my low power creatures. That's kind of saving double the normal amount of life, oddly. So my stuff is going to shrink in terms of power and toughness here, which is fine, but annoying. It's a lot scarier if my opponent then follows this up with, like, a Fatal Push or Source of Plowshares or whatever. It takes out one of my threats. Ponder's okay. Well, don't hate that. Thank you for your service, Boggart Trawler. Pass the 1 ring. Nice. Draw. Cool. I can hit my opponent for 4 life, or I can attack Tamiyo for 2. I think I am hitting my opponent for 4 life. Do these shrank? Sure. I am unsure who is currently favored. I think it's me, but I think it is very easy for it not to be me in the course of a single card. Sure. Just taking a good tempo play approach, which is reasonable. The second Planeswalker means that I can't just edict that away, which is really annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can play double creature this turn, and we'll probably do so. We're going to give Teferi a love tap here to take him out. So a Supreme Verdict or something that wipes out all of my creatures next turn is a problem. Force of Will. I think I should have played my cards in the other order. It might not matter. Like, this is still a chonky boy. Like, Barrowgoyf connecting next turn is still lethal. Wait, 4, 5, 6, double to 12. Yeah, so my creatures connecting next turn is still lethal. My opponent, ooh. I can now 1 ring into an edict, though. Okay, so Tamiyo minuses, meaning that I have a lot of time now. And I think I was very scared of just losing in the short term to this. So I think I'm okay now. Like, we'll just try to bury my opponent in cards. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7. 7 is not 8. Do not want to play Urborg. My opponent showed me a Psychic Frog, and they don't have black mana yet. So let's just go yeah, and be happy enough with this. My opponent can draw a card off of their clue, and probably should have while that was on the stack. Unless this card in hand is not blue, then they are not drawing towards Force of Will. Now, my opponent wants something like a Narset that stops my 1 ring card draw. I just don't think they will keep up with it. That's fine. Oh, did I have Fatal Push mana available? If I had Fatal Push mana available, I should have taken action. Whoops. That's a lot of cards. Fatal Push, target Tamiyo. I still don't believe that I want to play my Urborg, even though it could be beneficial for me this turn. So let's Sewers, Slasher. If I put Slasher into Graveyard, I can grow multiple Stalkers here. I'm into that. So I am interested in casting this and nuking my opponent's graveyard. Get out of there. And then we're going to play 2 Stalkers that scale up, and we'll make our opponent deal with it. The single target removal at this point is fully not going to keep up with the One Ring, and I can just play another one whenever I want if life loss starts to become a problem, which it is not currently. Ponder does not shuffle. So what did you find that makes you not dead? We'll find out. I take a little damage. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Show me a sweeper, or you die. Blockers aren't going to cut it here. Send it. Swords. This is 7 incoming damage still. I guess I could have played another one of these out, but that makes me worse versus a sweeper. I continue to not play Urborg, despite the fact that it would be convenient for me to do so. Yeah, I'm just going to blow a Dark Ritual here as to take less damage. Play a new copy of the One Ring. Yeah, that was dominating. So my opponent has Psychic Frogs, which we know from Force of Will. So it's not like I can just board out my spot removal here. I don't think my opponent is reanimating based on what I saw. I'm not interested in these. That means that I have Vexing Baubles plus these 4 cards that I can be thinking about. I've not lived the dream of the one-shot kill in this league. This card has pulled its weight, though. Like, this card doubling damage from Dauthi Voidwalkers and stuff has been perfectly relevant. I've been happy with this card. That can free up these. I think I'm into these 4, and then I'm less sure about these ones. If I thought that I could pull out my spot removal, that's where I would be getting the slots for these, but I think I'm just going to load up on removal so I don't fold the Psychic Frogs and Tamiyos. 62. Were they a 62 card deck in game 1? Oh, this is fine. We are probably going to trade resources for a little while, and then whoever ends up with the unchecked, like, Psychic Frog or One Ring or Planeswalker or whatever probably comes out ahead around turn 4 or 5. We'll get a decent amount of information from this Thoughtseize. A little weird to see Bowmaster go. Oh, I love that as a draw. It's a little weird to see Bowmaster go after not leading on a blue land. I am not into Chrome-Mox right now. I'd rather draw actual lands. And it's not like I need to turbo out Slasher and the One Ring. Like, we can be here for a little while. Stoneforge. Getting Kaldra. We can check that. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. This is a very scary Force of Will spot, though. It's not instantly game-ending or anything, but it's super fucking spooky if my opponent forces there. We get lucky. On 3 mana, Teferis and Narsets and things of that nature can start happening. I'm going to have 4 mana on my turn, but I can't double spell. That's annoying. Like, that is very specifically good against single creature being played out. I will not deck thin here. So, let's get Swamp. Because single creature being played out is so bad versus a Teferi that's already plussed, I think I'm just going to play the One Ring and attempt to draw a card here. Nice. Yeah. So now next turn, I can play like Dauthi Voidwalker into Unstoppable Slasher or something like that. Ooh, opponent bounces my One Ring. That's slightly surprising. Maybe my opponent reasons that they won't keep up with me drawing cards, but I was fully expecting Teferi pass, remove a creature, bounce a creature as what was going to happen in the next turn cycle. So, Aldra is live again. Don't like that. Pre-war formal wear is a way to return Stoneforges. Don't like that either. Voidwalker plus Slasher. Yes. Doesn't feel great. Yeah. Oh. What is this? Oh, that's fine. That's just an opportunity to surveil before the card randomly goes under Dauthi Voidwalker. I like their card. Then we'll take 2 to play Slasher. Slasher threatens a decent amount of damage. Cauldra invalidates a lot of that. Is my opponent's Cauldra going to be an offensive or defensive Cauldra, though? Because I could really see that breaking either way. Prismatic Ending. Offensive or defensive Cauldra? Defensive. Would have 7 mana this turn. More realistically, have 5 mana. Rewar Formalware is a little weird here. I think I have to take Ancient Tomb damage here. Did I take 4 Ancient Tomb damage? What if I took 4 Ancient Tomb damage? Then I could like bam, bam, bam. 4 damage is a lot. I don't think I can realistically do that. But we're gonna draw. Masters is actually interesting. I'm into that. So this Ancient Tomb does not damage me now. So I can play this, and we're going to ping Teferi so that Teferi can't minus and bounce probably my 1 ring out of play. We don't attack with Slasher into Cauldra. My opponent can put in Cauldra or pre-war Formalware at end of turn. I guess the next question becomes, does my opponent have that 1 random black piece of equipment that we saw in earlier rounds? No Stoneforge Mystic activation? The fuck does that mean? That is confusing. Alright. I'm down to 11. There's a way to gain some life. I think I have to draw cards. I have a Fatal Push, kind of, for Bowmasters, and I say kind of because of this. Alright, we get away with that. Now what? I guess we start taking legal Magic the Gathering TM game actions. Attempt Fatal Push on Stoneforge, and then we can force an activation. What? Okay. Well, I mean, attack you. This hit, in theory, is 14 to 7 versus 12 to 6. Yeah, so let's send these other 2 at Teferi. Am I fine endangering Bowmaster? Yeah, I'm drawing cards with the 1 ring. Yeah, Bowmaster already would have happened. Alright, we're good with this. Oh, instant speed, Wrath of the Skies. Sure. Not enough energy. So, connect, half your life total, play a lifelinker / source of card advantage. Alright. Like, this does not kill like the Cauldra Germ token, that's indestructible, so I guess I'm confused. Like, there's no Brainstorm in graveyard, so it's not like my opponent brainstormed away those cards that I was thinking about, right? Alright, well, I guess like Supreme Verdict me. Unstoppable Slasher will come back later. I'm still drawing cards with the 1 ring. The Fairy Bounce is fine. Pre-war Formalware, bringing back Stoneforge. Getting Cauldra. I'm assuming that went back with this right there. So, lose a little life. Boggart Trawler is, I guess, relevant. Not that exciting, but it's relevant. Now it's just a question of how many different creatures do I play out into a potential Wrath. So send this. We're just going to trade, which is fine. And this comes back with the stun counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's very easy for me to play 2 things with Dark Ritual here. So I think I will do so. I'm going to play one of these. I'm going to play a second one of these, so that a single spot removal spell doesn't keep me from gaining life next turn. Force of Will, pitching Psychic Frog. Sure. You're not attacking next turn. I'm reaching the point of the game where individual points of life do matter. And I'm thinking about playing this off Delta or playing this as a tapped land. I think I'm playing this as a tapped land. Not 100% sure about that one. Sure. I guess I have to worry about just like dying to hardcast Cauldra next turn. Snapcaster, Prismatic Ending. Ah, fuck. I mean, there's a punish for not playing that as a creature. Prismatic Ending does not gain me life, notably. Things get a little dicey. I lose 3. Edict's kind of whatever. Draw. Great. So 4 mana for new 1 ring, and then we're fine as long as Force of Will doesn't happen here. Oh, I guess it could be Consigned to Memory. Fuck. Our opponent edges us out here just barely. Yeah, maybe I should have Boggart Trawlered to play around Snapcaster Mage or Prismatic Ending. These are tappable. No, they're not tappable. Yeah, damn. Maybe that was winnable. So do I want Vexing Bauble against known consigned to memory, since the One Ring is so important? It comes at the cost of real removal spells, though. Maybe that's fine. Like, do something like 2/2 to get all of these in there. The One Ring is real good. This is fine. It has more removal than I would like. It doesn't have a fetch land for the Stalker, but it's a good start. Let's see if we're eating immediate removal spell or not. We are. That is a land here. I think every time. Yeah. We'll pass turn. I'll play Bowmasters at instant speed. We know there is sorcery speed removal in my opponent's deck, and I don't think I want to walk this card into that. Stoneforge resolves. Getting Cauldra. I'm thinking about whether or not I'm Fatal Pushing or Sheoldred's Edicting. I think I am Fatal Pushing. It's not my most mana efficient spell, but this is a more flexible card and can be a way to answer Cauldra. And we're jamming. Taking 2 to do so. Nice. Draw. Cool. So now we see kind of who can spiral the game better from here. If my opponent can keep playing like Psychic Frogs and Stoneforge Mystics that keep me from advancing my board in a profitable way, there's a real chance that they could pull this one out. All right. Draw. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana in this turn cycle if I need that much. I'm probably using 6 mana. So I guess let's resolve this Dark Ritual. That makes the remainder of this turn more flexible. This is worth life. Cast. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Yeah. And then if my opponent forces, I have another one. Otherwise, we'll just pass the turn and be able to do end of turn Bowmaster or have a Sheoldred's Edict available. Land drop 4. We've kept that Psychic Frog from being in graveyard for things like pre-war Formal Wear, which is nice. Now we'll play Bowmaster at end of turn. Sure. Grab Swamp. Play this. Ping you. 18. I'll go to 9. Draw cards. I have an answer to Bowmaster if my opponent plays one. Ooh. Yes. Let's just play that immediately. Go to Punchies. Send in 4 Punchies. That's fine. Take 2. Ignore Ancient Tomb from here, I think. Play my Lifelinker. I don't have Edict up immediately. I don't think that's relevant here. Opponent likes their draw. Probably bad news for me. We're super happy with a Swords here. We're unhappy with like a Prismatic Ending that does not gain me life. Yep. That's what I was just talking about. So we need to find a One Ring over the course of the next couple of turns, probably. Chrome Moxen are not strong. Well, fuck. That's really bad. Urborg's okay. But those were quite bad draws on average. Yeah. Cycle that one too. That's fine. Send in for 2. Opponent's at 13. I now get to play 2 Stalkers and scale up both. And then I, in theory, can just play an uncounterable One Ring next turn and be perfectly fine. I'm going to get 6 looks at it. That's scary, but not in theory the end of the world. All right, take 4. Draw 5. None of those are the One Ring. 1 more redraw. Yeah. 1 more redraw. Yeah. So I went 7 cards deep and missed. Yeah, I died to my own cards. I'm going to run the numbers on that real quick. So if I had 7 more cards in deck, that was 33. I guess I can concede and then run the numbers on it. Okay, so that's population size 33. I looked at 7 cards. I had 3 successes. I needed 1. Yeah, so I should hit that slightly over half of the time, so it's not crazy that I missed. All right, so how do we feel about that league? Honestly, pretty positive. I was competitive in, I would say, 4 of the 5 rounds. We didn't really have any game versus the Necro Dominance deck, but that's not surprising. We still stole a game off of them, off Vexing Bauble, though. All the cards that I played in this league, I think, were reasonable. I think viewing this as an A plus B combo piece is probably unrealistic. If you build this with the intention of this just doubling damage from other creatures, I think this is not an unreasonable Magic the Gathering card. But that last round there, I think, showed how important Sheoldred is to the decks that look like this, so that you don't just run out of life for drawing cards with the One Ring. So, like, if I was going to run this again, I would just get rid of the Vampire. I would keep the Unstoppable Slashers. I think that card is perfectly reasonable in a Dark Ritual Chrome Mox Ancient Tomb deck. I'm going to give this deck the overall thumbs up. I was pretty happy with this. I like the changes that I made to the starting deck list here. I don't think I connected with a Barrowgoyf in the entire league, which is kind of wild. Just it got Swords to Plowshared on site. I will say though, like, Unstoppable Slasher is better against like red removal, black removal than it is white removal, and we queued up against a bunch of like white removal Stoneforge Mystic decks. So results overall not surprising there. Sideboard could probably use some work. I said Fairies over Leylines was probably something very reasonable to do. I stand by that. Otherwise, I would need to like mess with the in-out numbers a little bit to kind of smooth them out. There were some times where I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to board. But yeah, this was fun. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween. Should you need any spooky cards, check out toamagic.com, promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!